I apologize, I will have to do this in English, I hope you don't mind. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. First of all, congratulations to the TÜYİD team, to Bülent and the board for creating such a great event and driving change. So that's wonderful. It's such a pleasure and honor to be here today and to collaborate with TÜYİD for the first time to celebrate and recognize best practice in IR. Why is this award so important? In a nutshell, because it really is, there's no comparable or independent way to measure the quality and effectiveness of your hard work and your performance. Every year, Institutional Investor, for the past 40 years, we've been actually conducting performance assessment. I don't think, can you, I hope you can still hear me. I'll still go on. Yeah? We've been conducting independent, objective, and relative performance assessment to ensure, thank you. It all began 40 years ago when it was very important to actually evaluate the services that the sell side provided to the buy side. Corporate access, research notes, conferences, all of that really drives information and investment decisions of the buy side. So to what extent was that actually effective and helpful? And from that, we derived, obviously, the very well-known and very well-established rankings. These are now actually industry benchmarks, and sell-side analysts use them to promote themselves, but it's also accelerating their career progression. They negotiate their bonuses and their salary structures based on that. As the IR profession has actually institutionalized more and being implemented more into companies, we've seen also a growth in interest in measuring investor relations. So far, companies have actually done a great job at using the share price performance to actually do that, but that's not a fair way to measure your hard work. So with institutional investor research, we are enabling buy-side and sell-side to look at you, to compare and assess you, and to really evaluate based on activities and very specific efforts that you're conducting year in, year out, to understand who is best in class and who delivers to help investors make informed investment decisions. The professionals that actually will be gracing the stage in a minute for the categories of Best CEO, CFO, IRO, Best IR Program, and Rising Star have been carefully assessed by the buy side and sell side globally and determined to be the best in class. I just wanted to say a note about the category of Rising Star. Just to be clear, this is not a newcomer into IR, but these are companies that have actually made a concerted effort and changed their structure potentially to improve their outreach and engagement with the investor community. The research was conducted over a period of 4 to 5 weeks earlier this year. The participants that are participating in the research are actually fully vetted. So we need to make sure that the individuals that are evaluating you and your performance are actually relevant and can provide a relevant contribution. So they either have to be invested in Turkey, in your stock, in your sector, as well as in the region. And all of that needs to be verified before we run the survey, in between, and actually towards the end as well. So that's quite important in terms of the accuracy and the value of the data. Please remember also that this research was not conducted on behalf of TÜYİD or Turkey. It was actually an independent research that captured the views of over 12,000 buy-siders and sell-siders. So when you look at the people that will be coming onto the stage later on and that have been nominated, you were picked out of a pool of 5,000 IR professionals in Europe. So that's actually within itself quite a success already. And despite the macro and geopolitical headwind that Turkey is facing, we have actually seen in the research that Turkish IR have actually stepped up their work quite significantly. They've increased their engagements with the investor community. One key area is actually management face time. So we're seeing that management is spending a lot more time with top 20 investors, and that has increased by 21%. So that's also very significant. Even though we're seeing obviously a decline in numbers of conferences and even the quality of conferences, Turkish IROs have spent actually a lot more time at conferences, which is important for visibility and engagement, of course. And I think one key indicator of how IR is also recognized in the companies is how budget has been allocated. So we've seen not only a slight increase in budget, but also how budgets have actually been allocated across the different responsibilities that you have. One area that has actually seen a significant increase is external IR services. So you are doing a lot more of your due diligence in terms of market intelligence, benchmarking studies, but also importantly, and I've heard this from a few of you anecdotally, you're also using roadshow management tools that allow you to increase your exposure and fill potential gaps in your schedule when you attend conferences. This change may be due to MiFID, and I think you have, and some of the companies have actually been impacted quite significantly by MiFID, and I think the realization is important that you have to become a lot more self-sufficient and less reliant on the broker. We've also actually seen as a result of that an increase in roadshows in the UK, in the US, that's the East Coast US, not so much West Coast, in Asia and Japan. So all of that really quite positive in terms of year-on-year development, in terms of the IR function and efforts. So with more activity taking place, Turkish companies have actually created more visibility and a case for their company stock and investment destination. How well Turkish companies have positioned themselves and how they actually resonate with the investment community becomes very clear when you look at the number of individuals that have actually evaluated and assessed you. So this is quite exciting, actually. Over 138 buy and sell side individuals from over 80 firms have actually looked at your companies and assessed you carefully. That actually represents an increase of over 105% year-on-year in terms of participation. In terms of the corporate nominees, so individuals, executives that have been actually selected as part of the research process, we've seen an increase of 19%. And the significant increase here lies within the CFO. So the CFO participation, or the CFO nominee participation, has actually increased by 54%. So that's actually quite significant, and I think that actually speaks to how management is supportive of the IR function and sees a value in actually engaging and communicating with the capital market, which is obviously a great support for you as IROs to be able to do your job even better. Geographic representation has also quite increased and expanded with over 50% increase in UK and US participation. So a lot more US and UK companies that are institutions that are evaluating you. That's very positive. And 130% increase from rest of the world. We've seen a slight decline actually from Turkish investment funds and brokers who participated, as well as continental Europe. So I've thrown a lot of statistics here, and we will actually put this information together for you in a summary report that Bülent and his team will be disseminating to the members of TÜYİD. For now, I hope this information was useful. If you have any questions, please come up and approach me, talk to me. But for now, congratulations to all the nominees and the winners, and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.